Hola y un saludo a todos los estudiantes que están tomando la clase de español 122. En este vídeo vamos a hablar de los indefinidos, that is, indefinite words. Indefinite words are words that don't refer to a specific thing. Words like something, somebody, nothing, nobody. When you say somebody, you're not talking about anybody specifically. When you say something, you're not talking about one specific thing, and that's why these are called indefinite words, o en español, los indefinidos. And they usually come in pairs, the positive pair and the negative pair. So we're going to start looking at all of these indefinite words, beginning with algo, nada. Algo significa something. Nada significa nothing. There you have some of the examples. ¿Quieres comer algo? Y la respuesta negativa, no, no quiero comer nada. ¿Hay algo en el refrigerador? Is there anything, is there something in the refrigerator? No, no hay nada. Note that with nada, you will need to use the word no. So we have what in English would be considered a double negative. No hay nada. However, that is the way that it should be said in Spanish. The double negative is correct in Spanish. Alguien, nadie. Alguien significa somebody. Nadie significa nobody. There you have the question. ¿Conoces a alguien en Washington? Y la respuesta positiva, sí, conozco a alguien. Con nadie, ¿conoces a alguien en Washington? And here's the negative answer. No, no conozco a nadie. Once again, you have the double negative. Why? Because nadie comes after the verb. No conozco a nadie. But what if nadie came before the verb? Well, in that case, you would not need to use no. Look at the next question there. ¿Quién vino a la fiesta? And the answer could be no vino a la fiesta nadie. In that case, nadie is after the verb, so you have to put no before the verb. Another option could be nadie vino a la fiesta. In that case, nadie comes before the verb, so in that case, you don't use no. So if nadie comes after the verb, you put no before the verb. If nadie comes before the verb, then you don't put no. Siempre, nunca. Siempre significa always. Nunca significa never. And the same thing happens in the case of nunca. If it comes after the verb, you have to put no before the verb. If it comes before the verb, then you don't put no. Let's look at the examples. Siempre voy al cine los viernes. Voy al cine los viernes siempre. Siempre could come before or after the verb. It doesn't matter. In the case of nunca, it does matter. If it comes after the verb, then you need to put no before the verb. But if it comes before the verb, nunca is enough. You don't use no. Look at the examples there. No voy al cine los viernes nunca. That's after the verb, so you put no in front of the verb. Nunca voy al cine los viernes. Now, nunca is before the verb, so you don't use no. More examples. Mis amigos y yo no fuimos a Nueva York nunca. We never went to New York. Mis amigos y yo nunca fuimos a Nueva York. The first example has nunca after the verb, and the second example has nunca before the verb. And that is the way that works. Very similar, exactly the same, in fact, as alguien and nadie. También, tampoco. También significa also, or as well. Tampoco significa neither. Same thing happens in this case with the negative. If it comes after the verb, you put no before the verb. If it comes before the verb, then you don't use no in the case of tampoco. Let's look at the examples of both. También to the left, tampoco to the right. Mi padre juega al tenis y yo juego al tenis también. Mi padre juega al fútbol y yo también juego al fútbol. As you can see, también can come before or after the verb. It doesn't really matter. It does matter with tampoco, though, because it's the negative form. Mi hermano no sabe cocinar y yo no sé cocinar tampoco. In that case, tampoco comes after the verb, so no is placed before the verb. Mi hermano no sabe cocinar y yo tampoco sé cocinar. In that case, tampoco comes before the verb, and that is all that you need. You don't use no. Now, it is very important to remember that those two sentences with tampoco mean exactly the same, and it is your choice to use one or to use the other. And then we have algún, alguna, algunos, algunas, and ningún, ninguna, ningunos, ningunas. Algún significa some, ningún significa none, and these are inflected with gender, masculine and feminine, and number, singular and plural. So look at the two cases that you have there. You may be using algún, alguna, algunos, algunas with a noun, or ningún, ninguna, ningunos, ningunas with a noun. And there is agreement in masculine, feminine, singular, plural with the noun that comes afterwards. Look at that. Tengo algunos discos de los Beatles. Discos, masculine, plural, you need to use algunos. If you had the word amigas, which is feminine and plural, you would have to say algunas amigas. The negative form with ningún, ninguna, ningunos, ningunas. No tengo ningunos discos de los Beatles. Again, discos is masculine and plural, so ningunos discos de los Beatles. We need to use ningunos in that case because the sentence is negative. The positive sentence to the left, tengo algunos discos de los Beatles. The negative sentence to the right, no tengo ningunos discos de los Beatles. I have some records, some discs by the Beatles. I don't have any records by the Beatles. Now, it is possible also, when we know what we're talking about, to get rid of the noun. And in that case, algún is going to become alguno, and ningún is going to become ninguno. The others, ninguna, ningunos, ningunas, alguna, algunos, algunas, they remain the same. But if it's masculine and singular, if you get rid of the noun, the positive will be alguno with the O, not algún, alguno with the O, and the negative will be ninguno with the O. So let's look at those examples and you might better understand how this works. ¿Tienes algún disco de los Beatles? It's a positive question, so algún disco de los Beatles. We know we're talking about the record by the Beatles, so we don't need to repeat disco de los Beatles in the answer. You can just get rid of the noun and answer sí. Tengo alguno, adding the O there. Sí, tengo alguno. If the question were something like, ¿Tienes alguna amiga en Washington? In that case, amiga is feminine, so the answer could be sí. Tengo alguna with an A. We know we're talking about a friend. We don't need to repeat amiga. Okay? Now, let's see if the answer were negative. ¿Tienes algún disco de los Beatles? And the answer would be no. No tengo ninguno. Okay? I don't have any, meaning any record by the Beatles. We know we are talking about disco de los Beatles from the question, so we may choose not to repeat the noun in the answer. In that case, the answer would be no. No tengo ninguno with the O. Okay? Now, if the question were ¿Tienes alguna amiga en Washington? Which is feminine and singular in that case, and the answer were negative, then we would say no. No tengo ninguna with an A at the end. Remember that these indefinite words always come in pairs. There's the positive and then there's the negative. If you have a positive sentence, you will use the positive word, algo, for example, for something. If the sentence is negative, then you will use the negative counterpart, nada, in the case of nothing. Muchas gracias por la atención. Soy el profesor Antón García Fernández.